It is a single, cheap piece of hardware capable of bypassing the most expensive security shield on Earth. At 4 a.m. on September 14, 2019, the Abqaiq oil processing facility in eastern Saudi Arabia stood as the single most valuable industrial site on the planet. This facility alone processed nearly 70. The Saudi government had spent hundreds of billions of dollars on conventional Western defense systems, and in a matter of minutes, that investment offered no protection. Arab capitals now face the reality that Iran has figured out how to win without ever deploying a single tank or conventional army. The roots of this strategy reach back to 1979, when the Islamic Revolution replaced a secular monarchy with a revolutionary theocracy. Ayatollah Khomeini rejected the concept of monarchy, telling the neighboring kings and emirs that their time was up. The Gulf monarchies responded with a cold calculation. In 1980, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and other states poured billions of dollars into Iraq to bankroll Saddam Hussein's conventional invasion of Iran, hoping to suppress the revolution at its source. That war lasted 8 years and left nearly 1 million people dead. Iran emerged exhausted and deeply paranoid, harboring a permanent suspicion that when Iran bleeds, its neighbors write the checks. Tehran resolved to avoid direct conventional wars in the future, choosing instead to project power through asymmetric warfare. This strategy uses foreign proxy militias and low-cost technology to avoid a direct head-to-head confrontation between national armies. Iran began training and supplying ideological groups embedded inside fragile states across the region. They helped organize Hezbollah in Lebanon, supported local militias in Iraq, and armed the Houthi movement in Yemen. This chart highlights the cost paradox of this new reality. A single Patriot missile interceptor fired by Saudi Arabia costs between $3 and $4 million. A Houthi drone, assembled in a garage with Iranian parts and a lawnmower engine, costs as little as $20,000. This proxy model provides Iran with a layer of plausible deniability. They can bleed their neighbors dry and terrorize their cities without ever firing a shot from Iranian soil, making it difficult to justify a full-scale invasion in response. Iran also weaponizes demographics. Tehran often bypasses Arab governments to speak directly to Shia minority populations living within Sunni-ruled Gulf states, encouraging local protest and resistance. In 2011, when protests erupted in Bahrain, the Sunni monarchy and its neighbors viewed these internal calls for reform as a direct Iranian plot. Saudi tanks rolled across the causeway to crush the movement, driven by the fear of internal collapse. Beyond civil unrest, Iran has secured a geographic land bridge, a continuous overland corridor of influence, stretching from Iran through Iraq and Syria to the Mediterranean. This allows Tehran to move weapons and supplies without relying on vulnerable sea lanes. Their most effective maritime leverage is the Strait of Hormuz. Iran overlooks the northern coastline of this 2-mile-wide choke point, which carries 20% of the world's oil. A closure here would cause the economies of the Gulf states to collapse almost immediately. Cities like Dubai, Doha, and Riyadh are built on a model of total stability. They require open shipping lanes and foreign investment to survive. You cannot host a World Cup or build a financial hub in an active war zone. These desert kingdoms also rely on massive, exposed coastal desalination plants for their fresh water. These facilities are high-value targets that sit directly on the coastline, adding another layer of physical vulnerability. Iran, however, has built a decentralized resistance economy designed to absorb hardship. Its infrastructure and population are accustomed to the volatility of sanctions, making Iran better prepared for a war of attrition than the interconnected economies of the Gulf. While militias and geography are conventional threats, the accelerating nuclear enrichment program is the existential one. Gulf capitals view 60% enrichment as a countdown rather than a research project. A nuclear weapon would make the revolutionary regime in Tehran immune to invasion. It would allow Iran to support its proxies with total impunity, knowing that no regional power could risk a direct retaliatory strike. For Saudi Arabia, this is a firm red line. The kingdom has explicitly stated that if Tehran acquires a bomb, Riyadh will immediately acquire one as well, potentially starting a nuclear arms race in the world's most unstable region. Both sides are currently buying time. Iran faces deep internal fractures, driven by a younger generation with no attachment to the ideology of the 1979 revolution, and is tired of seeing national wealth flow to militias abroad. At the same time, Saudi Arabia is focused on its post-oil economic transformation. This mutual need for stability led to the restoration of diplomatic ties in 2023, with Beijing acting as the mediator. This diplomatic pause is not a peace. As long as the global economy relies on this narrow, heavily armed geography, a single drone strike could ignite a conflict that consumes the entire region.